Mark Rogers TV back with you just 11 hours before the College Football Playoff Committee needs to make its selection. Okay, we watched the conference championship games. Everybody was impressive, maybe aside from Florida State pulling off a 37-35 win and surviving an onside kick by Georgia Tech in the final minute. But Florida State's the undefeated team, so they should be in. Okay, here are my final four. I've got Florida State at number one. Why are they number one? Do I believe that Florida State is the best team? It doesn't matter if they're the best team. They have earned a number one seed because they're undefeated. That's objective. They're undefeated against a quality schedule. Again, Oklahoma State is not a great team. Notre Dame, not a great team. Florida, not a great team. But three quality Power 5 conference opponents, non-conference, plus the ACC is better than you believe it to be. 10-6 against the other Power 5 conferences, and 4-1 against the SEC. And also keep in mind that if you compare the SEC non-conference at 5-6 and the ACC at 10-6, it is very difficult to distinguish the opponents because they're very comparable. Again, Florida State at number one for me. Oregon 2 over Alabama 3. The distinction I make there is that Oregon plays in just as tough a league, we believe. Of course, the Pac-12 and the SEC didn't play one single game against each other. That's criminal. Oregon and Alabama, I've got it 2 and 3 on the strength of the non-conference win over Michigan State being much better than the West Virginia win for Alabama. And at number 4, I've got Ohio State. I distinguish the Buckeyes over Baylor and TCU simply because they won a conference championship game. They played an extra game against a quality opponent, Wisconsin. TCU and Baylor did not do that because of Big 12 rules. Actually, NCAA rules that are open to a waiver asking for the championship game to be awarded despite only having 10 teams in the league. But the Big 12 has not done that. And that's one huge issue in all this, is that you've got 5 Power 5 conferences and only 4 play conference championship games. So those 4 risk playing a game in which its top seed could get upset on that final weekend. We didn't see it, but we almost saw it with Florida State. Also, it's an audition against a quality team to make a final stand and statement to get into the playoffs. So a conference championship has to be universal. The other issue in all this is obviously the big fallacy in all this is that you can't represent every conference. And these conferences don't play each other enough for us to fairly evaluate the conferences against each other. 4 spots, 5 conferences. Huge issue. That's stupid. I've heard a number of people say that if there was an 18 playoff, teams 9, 10, and 11 would be arguing that they're just as good as number 8. Of course that would be the case, but at least every conference would be represented. And yes, maybe the Big Ten would have a gripe that the SEC got 2 in or whatever. 3 conferences would get a second wild card team in, but at least each conference would have a fighting chance and a representative to go to the national playoff to win a national championship. So there would be no argument there. There would be fair representation in regards to the best team in the conference there to play in the playoff and try to win a national championship. So again, Florida State 1, Oregon 2, Bama 3, Ohio State 4. And I am not saying that Ohio State deserves it more than TCU and Baylor. I'm just in the place of the College Football Playoff Committee that I have to select a 4th team. I think it is criminal that out of Ohio State, TCU, and Baylor, that 2 of those 3 teams are going to get knocked out and not have a chance to represent themselves. That is criminal. They are all one-loss teams that played strong schedules, that did the job on the field, and to try to distinguish between Ohio State, Baylor, and TCU, again, is criminal. Regardless of who gets in, the other 2 have his resume just as strong as the other 2. To distinguish between TCU and Baylor is the head-to-head, and we'll talk about that at another time. I also don't think it's right that Alabama and Oregon get a pass. They both lost a game, just like Ohio State, TCU, and Baylor. Alabama's got a loss, Oregon's got a loss. It's just the perception that the SEC and the Pac-12 are better. And because those are two of the teams that were forecasted as two of the top 4 teams to start the season. They've got a loss, and they also have ugly wins, i.e. Arkansas 14-13, Washington State by a touchdown, and a few others, both for Oregon and Alabama. Don't believe that they should have a pass. I believe that they should be judged along with that same line of Ohio State, TCU, and Baylor. My thoughts on the college football playoff as we are just 11 hours away from the decision that matters in this, but still, it's great debate. Would love to hear from you right here on Mark Rogers TV.